Well, welcome back. Um, so this really is something that doesn't have a recipe, but I think it's something that we can all apply because what I wanted to talk about, I mentioned trust and contentment is what we're going to be talking about. And how can you do that when you have meals and you don't know what's going to be planned, but you do have some confidence because you trust the Lord and you're content in what God has given you. You know, over the last several weeks, everybody has been a little bit hesitant on making plans and knowing when to go out and when to have guests over and what are we going to do next? And with school, when are we're going to have a graduation? Is it going to be later? What do we do about school? What do we do about starting school in August? But in all of that, every day we do at least have some kind of meal. There's just a regular, we're going to eat. And then one day we're probably going to have guests over. So what I was thinking, there are several great passages in Scripture that I want to go over, but one of the things that a passage that I know most everybody knows, especially if you're in athletics or an FCA or anything like that, is Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. I want to look at that a little different because the verses preceding that says, not that I speak out of respect of want, because I've learned to be content in everything. I know what it's like to have a little bit. I know what it's like to have a lot. I know what it's like to be hungry. I know what it's like to have an abundance. In all those circumstances, I've learned to be content. And then he says, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. So in all that strength, we know that comes from the Lord, and there is great contentment in that. So a lot of times you have probably done this. You go to your refrigerator when you're hungry, you have leftovers, and you do this. I don't know what I want to eat. What are we going to eat? But y'all, the pantry's full, you have leftovers, you remember it's like, oh, that chicken was delicious, or that vegetable was delicious. So what I want to do is think about, let's suppose somebody's going to be coming over in about 30 minutes. I got to have some type of meal. So I'm going to go to the pantry and the refrigerator, and I'm going to just look what we have. And this, let's see, noodles. We can use that. This is chicken. Broccoli. It was on sale. It was on sale two big bunches for $5. So I'm going to have sour cream. You know what? Gotta have butter. Everything's gonna taste better with butter. Do I have bacon bits? Bacon's good on everything. So you know what? I'm probably gonna want an onion too. So let's fix dinner because three of my favorite passages just so happen to be, especially from the Old Testament, is about folks showing up and getting a meal. One of them was in Genesis. We already know that Abram, God has already made the covenant and says you're going to be a blessing to many nations. And then in chapter 18, three angels show up, and Abraham looks. I'll fix that later. Whoops. Always use a cutting board though. I'm going to need a pan. But you know what? I also said I was going to have the broccoli. I know the chicken's already cooked. It's not going to take long. So what I'm going to do, I rinse these off when I got them out. So I'm going to flip these up. Save this because you can peel this and shred it, and you can almost make it like coleslaw. Susan had a great recipe. It was delicious. It was just wonderful. So anyway, back to Abraham. He sees 3 angels, and he's thinking, Sarah, make some bread. And then he runs and tells another servant, hey, you get a calf, you start preparing that. And then before long, Abraham is able to walk over, and it took time, because you can't just prepare a calf in 30 minutes. So you know that Abraham at least had to prepare something. It was a short notice, and I'm spraying this on here so my spice will stick to it. I'm gonna crank the oven up. Give me a pan. This is gonna be really easy, y'all. So it's going to be delicious. This is going to bake while we have something in the pan. I'll keep an eye on that. So the angels are able to have a meal. Then there's Gideon. If you remember what Gideon was doing, minding his own business, and then an angel of the Lord shows up and says, Gideon, this is what the Lord wants you to do. Gideon gets he gets the command from the Lord, and then he says, you know what, if this is really, if you're who you say you are and this is going to happen, wait just a minute. So Gideon, he runs off, he prepares a lamb, and then he brings back a lamb, bread, and some broth. And I thought that was just incredible, because here we have Abraham and Sarah, they have an unexpected guest, and we also have Gideon. They're threshing, wheat inside a wine vat. He has an unexpected guest. And then in 1 Kings 17, there's a great story about Elijah, and God says, Elijah, there's a lady, a widow, that I'm gonna command to feed you. So he goes and he sits at a well. He sees her walking by and says, hey, bring me some bread. And she says, well, the reason I have this sticks, I'm about to go make this bread. It's going to be our last meal, and we're just going to eat it and die. And Elijah says, nope, that's not what's going to happen. You're going to have all the bread you need until it rains. And that's what happened. So 3 awesome places in Scripture where we see that God said, you're about to have an unexpected guest, but there's going to be a meal. If you look through the book of Acts, the early church, there's a lot of things that happen just around meals. People come together, they have a meal, and they worship, they break bread, and they fellowship, and they minister to one another. It's wonderful. Okay, broccoli's in the oven. The onions are, the butter's melting. So now it's got us let's see, yep. Okay, we have chicken. This is leftover chicken, and I'm just going to cut it in smaller chunks, because I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this in the pan. Man, this is good. Yeah, it's good and tender. Oh my goodness. That's really tender. Susan did an awesome job cooking this. It's always good to have leftovers when you got Susan in the house. That's what I'm saying. So, the reason I'm using cast iron is you can bump up the heat on it. I'm using the lid because it gets hotter faster. Okay? Yeah. I'm going to use that. I think I'm going to put a little Cavender's, because I like Cavender's. It's gonna soak in really good to the chicken, going to be delicious. I promise, because it's leftovers and it was good the first time. So, I know a lot of folks is like, what do you... I don't want to make it like Alfredo. I just want it a little bit lighter. And I didn't want a tomato sauce because a really thick tomato sauce is going to mess up my iron. I don't want to mess up my iron skillet. Just so you know. So, I need some flour. I appreciate y'all letting me do it like this because this is usually the way I just don't use a recipe when I do it, y'all. I just, if you're familiar the way that you cook, then you know the taste that you like, and it's a lot easier to accomplish. So I'm going to use about that much flour. And I'm using sour cream because I like the taste of sour cream instead of, okay, I gotta wash my fingers now. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. There's another aspect of that passage that I want us to remember. Because if you remember that when Jesus was asking about what the greatest commandment was, the rich young ruler said, you should love the Lord with all of your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and love your neighbor as yourself. A lot of times we don't put those two verses together about how do we love God. We love Him with all our heart, soul, mind, and strength. And then in that Philippians 4:13, we say, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. It's like, well, where did that strength come from? It came from the Lord. So we love the Lord with all of the strength that He's already provided for us. And if you notice, everything that we have, even here, the broccoli, the chicken, all that, that's from the Lord. That's not from us. Oh my goodness. That's, you see the, I gotta have a suicide. Gotta eat that. It's getting warm. This is gonna be delicious, y'all. Alright. So now you got to remember, don't put hot water in this, because when you put a lid on it and you start to shake it up, it'll seep out. It'll get all over you. How do I know that? I don't know. Because I've done that before. Yeah, that's true. I just like roasted garlic. I hope guests do too. So, that's cooking. Shake this up. This is going to wind up being the white sauce that gets thick. So, while I'm thinking about that, that's cooking. It's probably going to take another 2 or 3 minutes to get really heated up. I know you're thinking, I should probably go ahead and add some bacon in there to get that soaked into the chicken. So, I'll do this just so I won't get it on my hands and have to wash my hands all over again. But, because I like bacon, I'm going to put almost a cup. Oh. See? That's going to be delicious. My goodness. But sometimes it's not all about the main dish. Sometimes you want a little something sweet. So, while all that's cooking, I'm thinking about, I think I had some leftover cookies. And I do. I have leftover cookies, but, you know, what do you do with these? Okay, well, they're chocolate, almost kind of like tea cakes. They're kind of soft. But I made them so that they would be ice cream cookies. So, what I can do, just in case our guests want to have a variety, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a couple of ice cream cakes. And when I do that, I'll put them in the freezer so that they'll stay cold and be ready. Because remember we said taste and see the Lord is good. And taste and see that ice cream is good. So here we go. That's gonna need more than just that much ice cream. Let's put a little more. Put one on top of there. That's gonna be delicious. I'm not sure who's gonna want to eat that. But if they don't want it, I will. Okay. So here's a couple of these. We can put these in the freezer, have them after we have our dinner. Those are going to be freezing well. Oh. Okay, if just in case that ever happens, you need to make sure that you get all of that chocolate out of your and the crumbles out of your ice cream. Yep, the ice cream stood. Ooh, that's a good one. Mm. Okay.
Oops.
That's left over too. That's for later. All right. The chicken looks like it's delicious. I got some more plans for those too. But we're going to take the lid off. Stir this around. All right. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to get my favorite spatula because I like getting the crispies off of the bottom of the pan. Kind of like deglazing, but it offers a really good taste, especially if you've been deglazing your onions. I'm going to fill this back up with water because I'm going to need some more. And remember, we still have broccoli in the oven that's going to be delicious. You see how that's thickening up really nice? Don't want it too thick because we're going to use it with pasta. And that I turned my spatula over because I don't want to splash it all over our stove top. All right. See, that's done. That's going to be delicious. Ooh, almost picked that up with my hand. So, let's see how our broccoli's doing. Oh my goodness.
Wait, do that again.
That's going to be delicious. Check that out. Oh boy. Okay. So, the next thing we need to do, I'll move that over there. Let me show you one more thing. Because it doesn't really matter what kind of cookies you have because everything tastes really good smashed between cookies. If you have, you could have Nutella, you could have peanut butter. Oh, she got the good stuff. This is sunflower butter. That's delicious. So, let's see, what do we want to put? Let's just put those on a plate. Nutella. Okay. I'm gonna use 2 knives because I don't want you to see me licking them off. So you see that? Sun butter, Nutella, and that's gonna be delicious. One more. Put sun butter on one. Nutella on the other. And man, it'd even be better if I had some marshmallow cream to put, so it's 3 stacks. That's going to be delicious. So, how in the world...
Oh, whoops.
Sorry about that. At least it was just water. Okay. So, I had spaghetti It's a little, this is how it comes out of the refrigerator once you have it, okay? So it's a little stiff. So we have hot water. I'm about to eat, so I don't have to have it like blazing hot. So what I'm gonna do, I'm getting my water hot. I have a small colander. I'm thinking this is for, you know what? We're family. This is how I usually do it anyway. I want that much. Okay? Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it under our hot water. See? It's just like it came out of the pot. Now all I have to do is get ready to eat. Turning everything off. I'm going to give me some spaghetti. Ooh boy. Here we go. A little of this. Whoop. Oh my goodness, and we got broccoli. See how wonderful that looks? Get some of this broccoli. We always wanted to a little presentation, so yummy. Y'all, I'm really not sure if this is going to be as delicious as it looks. Yep. Look. What would you do if the little things, if you had unexpected guests coming up, you go to your pantry, you find out, well, what has God given me? And use that with your talents just to do what you do and have a delicious dinner. If you have any kind of leftovers, y'all, you can put this together. But y'all, let me tell you something. As a believer, you're not leftovers. You are a child of God. You're special, and God has a plan and a purpose for you. So during all of this time, just remember there is a way that you can be content. You can trust God through all of this, and you can take what God has given you, and you can let Him show you how to make it delicious for Him and for a guest. Hope you've enjoyed it. I can't wait to eat because it smells so good. God bless you. Y'all have a great evening.